several years. It's incredible for me to even try to think about that much mass to orbit in 1 year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Ludicrous mode, I think. Yeah, for launch.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But it's either we do that or we're a single planet species forever. So we either achieve those kind of numbers or we will never have a self-sustaining city on Mars.
To building this amazing launch system, you're also working on a Polaris mission that's going to allow, I think, Dragon to open and have people actually floating in space, doing an EVA, and you're building a spacesuit for that. So you can talk to a little bit about that spacesuit, and can you use that same suit on the Moon and Mars and for other missions?
Yeah, so the SpaceX spacesuit, we do expect to evolve that to be something that can be an EVA suit on the ground on the Moon and Mars. It started off initially as really just a pressure suit, just in case there's an emergency depressurization of the spacecraft. So it was basically like a self-contained life support system in suit form. Obviously we'll retain that capability, but now for an upcoming flight, we want to do an EVA or extra vehicle, basically go float around in space. Still on a tether, so it's not going to be an independent little space suit that's just flying around. We could do that, and maybe that'll happen on a future flight. But it will be a tethered EVA. So you're just out there floating in the void, connected by a thin cord to the spaceship.
Amazing. You put a Tesla in space. This was like an amazing thing to see a Tesla actually flying into space. So you've already put one of the vehicles in space. Are you thinking about making a Tesla rover, maybe Moon or Mars? Any ideas for CyberTruck on the Moon?
It would look cool, that's for sure. Now, the nice thing about electric cars is that obviously do not require oxygen to. They're not combustion cars, so they don't have to ingest oxygen from the ambient atmosphere. Yeah, I think Tesla could easily make a car that like a Cybertruck Luna variant. Just get the Moon option package. Yeah, I mean the reason that we launched the car. The reason we launched the car with heavy, I should say, is it's that we want to have something that was exciting as a initial payload, but where the loss of the payload would not be catastrophic. So people wonder why is my car orbiting Earth and Mars? Because it's in an elliptical orbit. And actually, it almost touches like the edge of the asteroid belt and goes past the orbit of Mars. It's just that we weren't sure if the first flight of Heavy would fail or not. And we wanted to just have a payload that was more exciting than a Conqueror.
I thought it was brilliant, really a masterstroke in terms of getting attention of the world, really, to put that in orbit.
Thanks.
Can Starship be used as a space station? How long could it stay in orbit, and what would be the purpose of that? How could that work?
So how long could Starship be in orbit?
Yeah, could it be its own space station? If you wanted to put a Starship up with the capability, a laboratory, how long could that could it stay in orbit and still come down?
Oh, there's no real limit. It could stay in orbit for a very long time. The volume of the Starship fairing is roughly comparable to the volume of the International Space Station. So there's about 1,000 cubic meters of volume in the fairing. And I think space station's a comparable amount. Yeah.
And would have the power to run a lot of laboratory experiments. Sorry.
Yeah. Given that it's a similar volume to the space station, you could do what you're doing in the space station on a Starship if you want. but there's no limit to how long it can stay up there. It's really just you need solar panels, battery, and some thrusters to maintain orbit.
How about point-to-point transportation? I know when you were in Guadalajara at the IAC, you kind of hinted at a little bit of the point-to-point capability of transportation. I can't remember the exact amount of time to get from one side of the world to the next, but can you talk about that? How do you see the future of point-to-point using Starship?
Yeah, so the fastest way with known physics to get from one place to another on Earth is with an intercontinental ballistic missile. This is why ICBMs with nukes are kind of like the ultimate weapon. Now in this case, it's sort of delete the nuke at landing, but it's certainly very feasible. Obviously, if we can take off and land on Mars or the Moon, we can take off and land on Earth too. So it really comes down to a question of is it economically viable compared to long-distance aircraft? And I think our back-of-the-envelope numbers suggest that it actually has a shot at being economically viable for long-distance transport on Earth for a few reasons. The propellant cost is actually quite low, being liquid methane, liquid oxygen. The cost of liquid oxygen, it's primarily liquid oxygen. It's about 78% liquid oxygen by mass and roughly 22 or 23% liquid methane. So the propellant cost is it's the lowest cost propellant you could possibly get on Earth. And then because the rocket's moving so fast, you can use it in theory, about 10 times more than you could use an aircraft. So, so Falcon 9, Starship can go from, let's say, Los Angeles to Sydney or something like that in 20 minutes, basically, maybe half an hour at most. So, whereas I think an airliner takes about 14 or 15 hours. So you've got something which is really much faster than an aircraft. And so for an airliner that you can do basically an order of magnitude more trips with Starship than you can with an airliner, which means that no pilots are needed. In fact, you can't pilot. This is not only a computer can pilot this because human reaction times are not fast enough. So then you don't have the pilot costs, you don't have the food costs, you don't have the you don't really even need bathrooms if you can get there in half an hour. So it actually would work out that it's actually, we think, lower cost than long-distance aircraft.
Okay, you got a little chuckle here in the crowd about the no bathroom line, so I think people are looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's less than half an hour, you say like, just go before you hop on, and yeah, it'll be there fast. I mean, you could technically, have, I don't know, breakfast in LA, lunch in London, and, dinner in Singapore, and then be back in LA for bedtime.
All right, you heard it here, guys. Huge round of applause here.
Cool.
So you're connecting now, I think, something like 2 million people with Starlink, right? With your satellite communication system and growing rapidly. You're mastering communications from space to Earth, from low Earth orbit. You're now doing inter-satellite links with this system. What do you see for Starlink being used as a relay, let's say around the moon, or for comm relay all the way to Mars and back?
Yeah. Well, for Mars, you'd want basically like a laser relay system. Essentially, it sort of depends on what bandwidth you're looking for. Obviously, in order to have continuous coverage with Mars, you'd have to have some relay system because you can't transmit through the sun. So when Mars is on the, when the sun's between you and Mars, you have to do a bank shot through a relay satellite so that your photons don't have to go through the sun. So and then you have to say, well, ultimately we would want, terabit, maybe petabit level data transfer between Earth and Mars. So then you're gonna want probably some relay satellites along the way to be able to do that. It's a bandwidth thing. You'd want to use lasers, and then the laser beam is going to widen with distance, so that then you need to be able to receive the laser beam before it gets too wide. This means that you need a series of satellites in order to communicate with Mars at its furthest distance, especially with very high bandwidth. You can obviously do low bandwidth with longer wavelength photons, but if there's a human city on Mars, you'd want to have very high bandwidth. So then for a bunch of lasers. And satellite, Starlink already uses lasers for inter-satellite communication.
So if I may, just a couple more questions. Throughout this week here at the IAC, we've been inspired. There's thousands of young people here. I think 41% of our delegates are under the age of 35, which is incredible by any space conference metric. We get a lot of young people here. There's delegates from the Space Generation Advisory Council, from the Future Space Leaders Foundation, from the YP program here at the IAF. Do you have a message for these young people, the young engineers and scientists that are here? Many of them have been inspired by you. Anything you can say to them about pursuing a career in space, or what motivated you to do all the things that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in that which furthers civilization, and I think we want to expand the scope and scale of consciousness so as to better understand the nature of the universe, and even to understand which questions to ask. Like, one of the most inspiring books I ever read was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they're trying to understand the meaning of life in the Hitchhiker's Guide, and the larger message of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is that you actually need to know what questions to ask about the answer that is the universe, and we don't yet know what questions to ask. So I'm just curious, really. I'm just curious as to the nature of reality. Where does it all go to? Where does it come from? Where are the aliens, for example? Are there aliens? Are we alone? People often ask me if I'm seen any evidence of aliens, and I unfortunately have seen no evidence of aliens yet. We are the aliens, as far as I can tell. And I think if anyone would know, it would probably be me, and I have not seen any evidence of aliens. So what that perhaps suggests is that this tiny candle of consciousness that is humanity is all that exists in a vast darkness. And we should do everything we can to ensure that the candle does not go out.
Bound. We've had a wonderful week here in Baku. Yes. So we've had a wonderful week here in Baku. Next year we're going to Milan in Italy for the 75th IAC. We would love to have you come back for sure. If you're in the neighborhood, or you can hop over in a Starship, we would love to have you.
Sure. It would be quite the entry. It's going to land on the roof.
I'll ask the Italian hosts to see if that's possible. So just a fun question at the end. When do you think we can host an IAC in outer space?
That's a great question. Probably less than 10 years.
Let's have it. Well, Elon, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Congratulations on the World Space Award, well deserved, and our pleasure. We'd love to have you back. Good luck with your next launch.
Thank you. Thanks. It was an honor to be interviewed. Thank you, everyone.